Good morning, everyone. We're actually being able to start on time, it looks like. I didn't sleep in. Give me just a few more seconds to finish getting everything all set up. Might be a little bit of troubleshooting for the first part of this stream. I did go ahead and remove the scrapyard mod. My logic behind it is, one, I don't know if it was actually causing the issue. I wanted to go back and look at the vessel that we were crafting. Let me put that over here. Which was one of those relay satellites. Perhaps I was just looking at it in the atmosphere, and that's why the delta V was so low. If I switch it over to in a vacuum, I'm wondering if it'll go back up to that 1100 or 1000 delta V that it was showing. Another thing, I did remove the scrapyard mod, and the scrapyard mod adds a whole bunch of modules to every single part that's in a craft. So everything's going to say unknown part modules. I think that'll be okay. I did make a backup of the save, but it says like, oh, it has the module SY part tracker, and I think if I click OK, it just removes it, which should be fine. Now what I was hoping to do is set this as the root part, and then if I remove everything, because we got 508. However, I think that's in an atmosphere. Set it up here. Yep, we get the 1100. So it was not the scrapyard mod for that part. It was just me being a dum-dum. With that being said, I still removed the scrapyard mod. And my reasoning behind that is it was causing me problems before when I removed the automatic apply, and then it may have been causing some other issues. I'm not too sure about that. And the benefit of the scrapyard mod, for those that aren't aware, is whenever you recover a vessel, it will take all the parts from that vessel and will just put them in a bucket somewhere. Similarly, every time you build and launch a craft, it will keep track of how many times each part has been used. So this probe, like the probe core, the Probodyne hex, my Kerbal Alpha relay has 4 of them. Does it have 4 or does it have 3? It has 4 of them. So if I launch this vessel, which I had already launched one, it will basically take a spreadsheet, take the Probodyne hex, take the number of uses, increment it by 4. And what this does is whenever Kerbal Construction Time is planning on building a new rocket, the build time that it estimates, it takes those into account. So the more times you use a part, the shorter the time. The number of parts you have in inventory, if your rocket has those parts, you don't have to rebuild them. It just takes them and plops them on the build rocket. That will reduce the number of hours, minutes, whatever you want to call it. It will reduce the build time of the rocket, which was super useful, and I saw some value in it. But the reason why I still removed it, and I'm toying with the idea of putting it back in. We have these upgrades with build points, and build points increase this. So as we're progressing through our career mode and we're increasing like the rates for rate 1, 2, and 3, our build time should be getting lower anyway. So I don't see too much value in keeping the scrapyard mod. It had like some nice toy. I did like what it was giving me, but what it was giving me is something that is effectively emulated in the mod itself. I don't see too much in getting rid of it. Now, I want to try to get my bearings real quick. So one thing that we need to address today is we have these 3 relay satellites, Conquer Alpha 4, 3, and 2, and I just want to verify that. Com Alpha. Okay, so they're not all named the same. That's the first thing I want to try to address. Is I don't know why I made it Ker first. What is this named? Research 1. Okay. Nothing is named consistently, but luckily enough we're early on in the career so we can get a consistent naming convention. I think I like Ker first because that tells me things are Kerbin. So it's Kercom Alpha 1. I think I'll just say it's named correctly. Now I remember I found out last time I can now switch to vessels. I don't know if that was just a bug with one of the mods I was playing with or if that's actually something that you have to update the tracking station for to be able to get access to switching between vessels. I don't. Okay, so this is still gonna be 4. Accept. And slowly go down the line. Vessel. This one is 3. And let's go to the last one. Not going to bother with the ship because that's supposed to deorbit itself. And put that at 2. Right, so that's that. And 2 is the one with the broken antenna. Now what I will do is I'll go into this research vessel. And normally when I have like the SCANsat mods on things. So for this one, for example, I have the R3B radar altimeter. I like to place that in the name of the vehicle, not the actual part name. But what I'll do is I like the research nomer and I'll give it a name, not Alpha, but can't think of a name. I'll just put to do, and then I put like low out. And so if I had the visual scanner, which can get like a visual map as well as a biomap, it would be like low out vis, and then when I start getting into high things, it'll be like high out res for like how altimeter and resource, and that makes it easier to figure out what I'm looking at there. I need to find out a naming structure, like semantic for this vessel name. It could be anything, I would think. Yeah, I can't think of a name on the fly. It doesn't have to be space related, it doesn't have to be anything. If anybody's got any ideas, just let me know and I'll take it into consideration. Now, all my vessels should be named properly. If I go back into the Space Center, I had just noticed that we have a request to go into an equatorial orbit. I first want to check, is that something that is currently active? It's not. Let's look at CommNet relays. Oh, I yawned. It is currently 6:30 in the morning for me. So I hope you can excuse the yawn. Not part testing satellites. Let's see. Position research 2 on an adjusted orbit. Around 20,000 from that. We are done with the mission for research 2. The altimetry scan is complete, so I wouldn't mind doing one of these. Inclination of 0.6. Is this saying it wants me to go from... Oh no, research 2 is the one that's out near the moon. So this might be... I mean, it would only give me 20,000 funds, but being that we have 30,000, I think it might be acceptable. Let's to go from wherever it is now to 1214. Which I think that's doable. I don't want to accept it if it's going to give us problems. This one wants a mystery goo on board. Put us in this orbit. Looks pretty easy. And it'll give us a lot of money, so we'll accept that. Gotta keep in mind that we have a limited number of contracts we can accept. SCANsat. We don't have anything else here. Alright. So I want to double check to see what we can do with this. What is our current orbit? Okay, so this is just saying lower our periapsis. How much fuel does this have? We have 211 meters per second. Let's lower our periapsis by just a little bit, more than easy enough. This is currently labeled as a relay. Okay. I forgot that this vessel existed. A bug that I found in regular Kerbal Space Program is you cannot name flying vessels as science. This is explicitly limited to things that are landed on bodies. If you do this and then you switch, and I'll actually show you. So research. I already forgot. I think the name. It should be research 02 to do. Right, so I just changed the vessel type to be a science vessel. And let me swap over to, yeah, this was supposed to have a number assigned to it as well. The number for like research vessels isn't important, but you never know. Oh, and also this one is labeled as a relay as well. I'll just mark it as a probe. Alright, so this we marked it as a research vessel, not a research, as a science with the icon, which shouldn't do anything, but when you swap to it, our delta V went from like 212 to 0, and it's just gonna report 0. You can still activate the engine, you can still control it, it's just 0. And as soon as you change this back from science to anything else, it's still marked as 0. Then you swap to another vessel and you swap back and it'll show you the delta V again. So I know it is just the icon that's doing it, and it makes a little bit of sense because science is, yeah, 211 makes sense because science is supposed to be like the deployable stuff from one of the expansion packs. I would like it if there were more icons or configurable icons, that kind of thing. Because being able to say these are my scanning vessels would be able to mean that I can filter them out more easily. Alright, so we got our satellites. Position research 02 to do on the adjusted orbit. Make it 20,000 funds, which give us some funds to begin with. Now I also noticed we have 48 science, so I was thinking into going into advanced rocketry for the simple reason that I would like to get propulsion systems. Propulsion systems gives us access to the LV Ant liquid engine, as well as some of these smaller fuel tanks, which would be super useful on Moonnnn and Minmus missions. For example, that Spark engine, which you get that in basic rocketry, weighs 0.4 tons. Now it does come with some fuel, but in here the Ant weighs 0.02, so it's like 20 kilograms. And then like an Oscar A, Oscar B. Well, the Oscar A, oh no, it's 0.4 tons. Like an Oscar B weighs 0.1. So an Oscar B plus an Ant engine already gives you like 1,000 delta V for like a quarter of the weight. So when you're planning like smaller missions, Ant I think is one of the most useful. Sparks don't really use them except for on some landing vehicles. Probably not going to be relevant. Well, it might, because landing on the Moonnnn and Minmus are pretty easy. Okay, either way, I want to get advanced rocketry. That should give us access to, to another build point. This is what I want, general construction. This costs 20,000. Not really something, well, the engine plate. Didn't realize the engine plate was in there. And magnetometer boom. And at this point, I might as well just get everything. Okay, so let's spend our build point. I'm going to stop putting things in R&D because I think R&D is at a point where it's being able to progress easily. I'm gonna start putting things into the vat. Like, build points is severely limited. I might have to start buying them soon. Because at some point in the next few streams, I want to start getting into the spaceplane hangar, which is effectively the launch into the crewed space program. And so, Alright. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Research 2 vessel, and we're going to plan a maneuver for its orbit adjust. Alright. Hopefully we will have communication here. Easy enough. And let us do this. Alright, that should be fine. Reconditioning takes 3 hours, can't forget about that. So that's done. I had just accepted a mission to put something in some orbit. Oh, this is the small orbit I wanted. Okay. And then let us switch to these Alpha relays. Now, if you remember, my ultimate goal is to put these in a 777 kilometer orbit. That'll give us an orbital period of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Like an hour, 30 minutes, and 2 seconds, but I don't plan on having perfect eccentricity. And so my hope is that as these slowly run their way down, Alpha 2 is going to reach periapsis first. I just want to get my apoapsis to the proper location. We have so much delta V, I'm not going to try to combine any of the steps for the phasing. And let us hope that we have a connection. Awesome, we do. Right. We want to take our apoapsis and lower it to 777. I'm going to be paying attention to the small number down here. Alright, close enough for me. Okay, so now this one is going to have a boosting maneuver right around there. And this isn't to like a perfect maneuver plan, this is just to get something on my radar. Alpha 02. Ejection orbit. Alright, next up is Alpha 3, it looks like. And so, if you're not familiar with how to properly take 3 random satellites that are already in orbit and put them in an efficient orbit for a communications constellation where they have the same orbital period and they are, you know, like the equilateral triangle kind of thing, so they can get all points on the body. There may be a more efficient method, there might be a better method. What I just do is put them in the exact same orbit and then I worry about phasing afterwards. So the first step that I'm working on right now is putting them in the same orbit. Right. once again, we're taking the apoapsis, putting that at 777 kilometers. Right, almost pretty close. We're going to set up this maneuver up here. Doesn't even have to be perfect, but at least want it to be in the ballpark. Right. Will be Alpha was a 03. Fiction. Burn. Right, apply those changes. That one's done. Next one is Alpha 4. Right, that one was perfect as well. And once again, set up this burn right here. Right. For Alpha 4, injection burn. Right, next one's going to be the Alpha. Well, they just set to apoapsis. Whatever, doesn't matter. How Kerbal Space Program sets up what the time is relative to, I think it depends on what you click at. Because my maneuvers were at apoapsis, maybe I clicked on the wrong thing. Now this adjust orbit isn't happening for another day, so we might actually have our entire relay properly set up by that time. And it looks like these 3 satellites are going to be brushing up against KSC when this happens. So we might have full coverage during our adjustments here. Still got 800 delta V, and these next ones are going to take about 300. So it looks like we'll have about 500 delta V left when we're done with this whole process. How many more ignitions you have? 16 estimated. Now remember, Kerbalism has this estimated ignitions and estimated remaining burn time. That is by no means accurate. It could fail at 10. Could fail at this next one. And if it fails, it fails. Can't do anything about it. Let's see, what is our periapsis at now? Okay. So at this point, I'm more concerned not about the periapsis, but about getting my period to the correct value. What I would like is to just delete that, and then I want to get my period, which increasing really quickly. Kerbal Engineer has a more accurate. This is only to the second. This is to fractions of a second. So I'm actually going to lower my thrust limiter down, way down here. And not too concerned. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We have our 3 satellites. This is the first one, which means ultimately I'm going to say that Alpha 3, I'll say is my golden child, and Alpha 3 is the one that's in the correct orbit, if that makes sense. Alpha 3 is the perfect child, middle child in this example. Alpha 2 is way too close to Alpha 3, so I'm going to have to push it further along by however many degrees it needs to go in its phase. Alpha 4 is also too close to Alpha 3, so I need to delay its orbit by however many degrees that needs to be. So right now the orbital period doesn't have to be exact. What I would like to do is, I mean, we're just a few seconds off, so I think it'll be fine. Next I'm going to go to Alpha 2. And let's put Alpha 2 in its exact perfect orbit. Means I'm going to lower my thrust limiter down to like 30% for now. Doesn't matter. I'm going to have to probably split this over 2 burns. One is to get it in the general ballpark, and then the next one's going to be to get it perfect. Okay. Let's get closer to where we need to be. Delete. Right, we're going to hit our apoapsis in 50 seconds. Right, we are pointing. This part takes a while. For 50 seconds. 4. 58. Alright, 59.3. I'm looking at the Kerbal Engineer value way up here. And I'm going to actually start going radial, which will slow this down even more. Alright, that extra 1,000th of a second is, I'll just have to accept it, and in like 1,000 orbits, I'll have to delay by another minute, or by another second, so I think this will be fine. By the time these get out of sync, they will no longer be relevant. Alright, so now we're going to get this one into its proper place. Delete that. Should still have, yeah. And once again, this one we just want to get into the general right location. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now we got 3 satellites. They're in roughly the same orbit. I'm going to set you as my target, and we should be able to get some advanced orbital information. And what am I looking for here? Not eccentricity, target approach, phase angle. That's what we want. Okay, so now we got to do a little bit of math. I'm going to get my calculator, which is on my phone. So sorry that you can't see it. There are currently, to my knowledge, 360 degrees in a circle. And we have 3 satellites, which means in an ideal world, they would be 120 degrees offset. Now, we are also moving around this circle at a rate of 1 circle for every 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is 90 minutes, by the way. So 90 minutes times 60 seconds is 5,400 seconds. 360 degrees in a circle divided by 5,400 is we are traveling at 0.6666 repeating degrees per second. That's easy enough to remember. 0.0 and then a whole bunch of sixes. Okay, so the next thing we need to look at is our approach angle for KrAlpha-3. KrAlpha-3 is our golden child. It's in the perfect place. We're trying to move KrAlpha-4 relative to KrAlpha-3. Currently, we are 51.1 degrees offset from KrAlpha-3. We want that to be 360 divided by 3 is 120. So 120 minus 51.1 is 68.9 degrees. We want to take KrAlpha-4 and basically just pause it in its current location until KrAlpha-3 can move further in its orbit for 68.9 degrees. To achieve this, we're going to increase our orbit by some amount such that when it gets back in this same position, KrAlpha-3 will have moved. This is kind of the opposite of when you have all 3 satellites at some injector vehicle and you set its orbit to like an hour. So that way every time it goes around, it'll actually be 120 degrees ahead. Now you have to calculate it to find what it'll be going behind. So 68.9 degrees divided by 0.0666666 degrees per second gives us a change of 646 seconds, which is 10 minutes and 46 seconds that we want to increase our current orbit. I hope that made sense. And I completely just forgot the number. It's 10 minutes and 46 seconds. So we want our period to be 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 46 seconds. And for this one, I would like it to be pretty accurate. Let's just burn it. Can't see. All right, perfect. Now when we get back to our periapsis, this is where we're going to burn back down. And we should, if I'm not mistaken, we'll be back in the same place. Well, I mean, we will. That's given, periapsis. But we'll have slowed down enough. So this is what, KrAlpha-4? Yeah. KrAlpha-4, final adjustment. All right. Now the next thing we got to worry about is KrAlpha-2. How are we going to work with this one? Because there might be some other considerations we have to take into account, being the planet. But we'll get there when we get there. So this is our target. KrAlpha-3 is our golden child. Look at this. Our phase angle is 21. We want that to be 120, which is 99 degrees. Let me just double check. Yep, 99 degrees. 99 degrees times 99 degrees divided by 0.0666666 is 1,485 seconds. Now what is 1,485. Let me write that down real quick. 1,485 seconds. I'm trying to get that in minutes. 1,485 divided by 60. 24 minutes and 45 seconds. Is that what that's saying? Yeah, 1440. Yeah, so 24 minutes and 45 seconds. We want to decrease our orbit by 24 minutes and 45 seconds, which 1 hour, 30 minutes, 30 minus 24 is 6. But we also want to get rid of 45 seconds, so it's 5:15. We want our period to be 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 15 seconds, which I think will be okay, because my initial injection for the delivery vehicle was going to be an hour, so we should still be higher than that. Why is this so low? 1 hour, 5 minutes, 15 seconds. Alright, perfect. Now what we'll do is we'll come to our apoapsis here and we'll just burn it back up. We're just, okay, sanity check, we're not going to deorbit ourselves. Alright, and Alpha, what is it, 02? We should be okay. My only concern is if we lose connection. So we'll have to see what happens. And why didn't this deorbit itself? Maybe it just didn't fully degrade. It should degrade. All right. Let's focus in on this relay. I just want to get this done. We might not have a connection when we get there. Ooh, this is getting kind of risky. I might just push it up now. I think I can wait a little longer. Well, we should be fine because our angle here is 120. So when we go out of connection, this one should go into connection. All right, and this is where we're trying to get our orbital period to be exact. I'll put a half. Ooh. For 45, 47. Almost there. Ooh, okay. We're also 1/1000th of a second above it. Means we're going to perfectly match the other one. Okay. And now we can unset target. Yep, so we're 120 degrees offset. Perfect. And we can still communicate with it. My math for not going through the planet seemed seemed like it was okay. Next up, we got Ker Alpha 4. And then we should have our relay. Yep. And I shouldn't have any concerns with this one because when this is at its periapsis, we should have full coverage around the around Kerbin. The exception would be in these polar regions, but I'm not concerned about that. Reconditioning finished. I clearly did something wrong with this one because my phase angle is only 90 degrees. For Alpha 3 is my golden child. Let me redo this math. I might have to get another maneuver in here. Okay, so 120 minus 94.2 because we need to adjust another 25.8 degrees divided by 0.0, a whole bunch of sixes. It says 1,293 seconds. 90. Oh, yeah. 94.4. 94.1 equals 25.9 divided by 0.066666. This is another 380 seconds. That's 6 minutes, 360 seconds, and 28 seconds. So we need to increase our orbit by another 6 minutes and 28 seconds. What is it? 147 and 14. 147.14. Wait. Oh, almost just made another mistake. That's 6 minutes, 14 seconds from an hour and 30. Oh man, this is getting difficult. So we want this to be 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 28 seconds. 1 hour, 36 minutes, 28 seconds. Right. Hopefully I did the math right this time. Yep, did it right this time. Wonder what I had done wrong, but not too concerned. Okay, let's just get this in the perfect orbit. Alright, we're almost there. Alright, I think we got them all to be exactly the same orbital period to within 1/1000th of a second, so shouldn't ever have to make any adjustments to these. It does look a little concerning with the angle that these have in worst case scenarios, but we should be fine. Okay, so next up is, let's find out why this isn't deorbiting. It's 38, so I think maybe it just didn't. Yeah, I don't think it just. I think it just didn't get down to its periapsis again. Our next piece of work is in 4 hours. They're going to be making an orbit adjust on the Research 2 vessel. So what I would like to do is go to the Space Center and start constructing a new vessel. So there are a few things that we can work on. Let's see if we got any new missions. Doesn't matter because we can't accept anything. That's fine. When does our research complete? Tech complete in 3 hours. Okay, so we do have our money rocket, which that's probably going to be a disappointment. Before I launch that, I would need to put relay up around the Moonnnn, or just a different vessel that has a better antenna. What? This Kerbal construction time. Show hide build list. Grab. This is in storage. Is there a way to edit this? I think there's a way to edit it somehow, and that gives us access to not having to rebuild the whole thing. I'll figure that out later. How do I close out of that? There we go. Another thing that I'm considering is we do have access to the magnetometer boom. We also have access to these Science Juniors, which I don't know if I've done anything with a Science Junior yet. I can actually look up what we have done with it. Not. Yes, Science Junior, not the Mystery Goo. Science Junior is the Materials Bay. Why doesn't it just say Materials Bay? Is the Science Junior the Materials Bay? Is it just renamed, or has it always been that? I've always just called it the Materials Bay. Okay, either way. We haven't done anything with the Materials Bay. Haven't done anything with Magnetometer. The Mystery Goo only offers... We do have Space High, but it doesn't look like we've ever returned it. I don't know. We have Materials Bay, we have Magnetometer report. So this is something that I would like to work on, is putting something in a near polar orbit so we can get access to most of this, but then we also have the materials study, which should be able to... We'll have to deorbit that, and I've always had some issues with deorbiting. What I will do is I'll have this, which has our sample capacity. And we also need to bump these all the way up. In our config unmanned experiments, I think we've completed the telemetry point. But then we also have this might experiment, which requires that we're inclined as well. And space low biomes as well as space high. I don't think we need to do anything else. Okay, there's might, there's light. Have we done the light experiment yet? We have it for space high. This says we've already done the might experiment around Kerbin. We don't need that. Temperature scan is done. Telemetry port, pretty much done. Radiation scan. So we can do the radiation scan because we're going to be going into the belt. I think that's just what I need. The Geiger counter. Yeah. Already checked these two, which we don't need. Alright. We got that going. I would like to put on some of these computers. Never the rotation that you want. Here we go. If I do that, is it that looks pretty nice. Okay, bump these up to have more capacity. So now we should have 2, 8. Okay, so these don't really give us that much. So we're gonna get 6 in addition to 8, which is 14 megabytes. The reason why I'm doing that is this magnetometer boom uses a lot of data, I believe. You have 550 megabytes for each one of these situations. And it takes 7 days to complete each one of those situations. So the magnetometer thing is going to take a really long time to complete. And so this is what I would like to return from orbit. So what I need to do is get my electrical going. Right, and the reason why I'm putting all this stuff on is because once I put in a, where is it? What am I looking for? Parachute. I need a parachute. That's not what I was waiting on, but I'll just put 2 of these in there to get them symmetrical. And heat shield. I need a heat. Oh, I only get the small little baby heat shield. Who gives me the bigger one? What is the entry? This can go up to 2900 Kelvin. I might not need a heat shield. Does this thing have an ablator? I'm considering just not having the heat shield. I'll have to run a test to see how it works, but then get one of those. I then need to put a Science Junior on here. Science Junior, if I click start, and I think we can go with an inline mystery goo as well. The Science Junior just sucks up power. In the sun, well, in total, the Science Junior consumes like 2.2 electricity per second. Or no, that's both of them combined. I think it's 2 per second. And so it will actually, yeah, 2.04, which is a lot. So we don't actually have to be providing that much the whole time. Oh wait. But then additionally, the magnetometer I think uses a whole bunch as well. No, it uses only 0.2. Okay. So I'll flip these on their side. We can get maybe 5 of them in a row, including this bottom one. Okay, right. Now I can go into fine adjustment and just put these. Right. Means during the day. Why does this? Their estimated production is so low. Why is our estimated production so low? Now it... I think it wants our solar panels to be... Okay, whatever. I'll just take this and divide it by 2. It's like what, 1.75? Which, I'm not too concerned because we don't have to run everything at once. And so in sunlight, I think we should be fine. What is going on with our solar panel? Now it's saying we're getting 1 a year. What is... Why does it think the sun's always coming from like the east or something? Okay. I'll put my solar panels on the other side. These two can just stay here. And another thing that I'll do is I'll just throw on some more batteries. Perfect. All right. So we should get enough to be able to run the Science Junior an entire way through. And then we can just pause it, wait for us to finish recharging, run it the other way through. The other 2 experiments, the Mystery Goo and the Magnetometer Boom, aren't as important. They can just run 24/7. And as soon as I turn this off, it goes up to perpetual. Yeah. Yeah, because I get a day in shadow. Alright, so we should be fine in that regard. Now when we deorbit this, we're just going to jettison this whole bottom part and hope that this is sufficient for heating. However, we do need an antenna. There we go. Which that should be fine, and I think I want to put this on the Kerbin private, Kerbin public, because it's a direct antenna. Right, so we get that. Next we just need an engine, which in vacuum will give us 400 delta V. I'd like a little bit more. $1,200. I don't have a desired orbit for this, but I do have... We want an inclination of 90, which means it's going to take a little bit more delta V to get to where we're going. So this extra 1200 should be fine. Yeah, because I want part of my orbit to be in space low, which is below 240 kilometers. And then the other part I would like to be in space high, which is above 240. We should be fine. So what I would like to do here is we have a structural, it's kind of a large part. Because I would need to put this here, but I don't like having a fairing immediately next to the decoupler. But I just have a random small part I can use to connect them. Use a small inline reaction wheel, that'll be fine. Right. There we go. And for added strength, rigid to root. Clamshell and rigid root. Auto strut to root already. Okay. This is going to be our research 003. Is that what we're calling this? Yeah. Alright, so now we just need to get this into orbit. Now I normally don't have this like intermediate upper atmosphere stage. I don't know why I've started putting them on, but normally I just go direct from huge big rocket with side boosters to upper stage. And it's been fine for now. It's too small. Let's see, we want full reliable here, which in the atmosphere gives us 0.105. So we want our radial decouplers. Get two of them. Get two of them in the right place, and two thumpers. Let's see. Start at sea level, we get 1200 delta V at 2.4. Lower that down. We're about 1.4. Normally what I try to aim for. Yep. We're gonna get, I'll say 1600 delta V plus an extra 700 delta V once we detach it. Probably gonna be closer to 800, so let's see. Pull out my calculator again. We need 1600. Is that what I had said? Get rid of the solid fuel thing. Yep, 1600 plus 800 plus 1100 for this. There's already 3500 plus 1200. So we got like an extra 1000 delta V that we can play with. And I'll just accept it. Now, one thing I'm concerned about is the pricing. Might have to do some things to get money. Is that correct? Looks right to me. That one is not, though. Alright, so this rocket is too expensive. So I don't want to... The root part... I don't want to launch it because we won't have any money afterwards, so I'll go look at our contracts and see what we can play with. Alright, so this is going to give us around another 16,000 funds. Position satellite in an equatorial orbit with a mystery goo unit. This could be an easy source of money. And then we got our Moonnnn missions, which I will got about another hour left in the stream. I want to at least build something for the moon. Place a relay. This just needs to have a relay antenna. That's easy enough. Specific orbit. This one wants a thermometer and this one wants a mystery goo. So let us figure out how we can edit. This is rollout. I click this and edit that. Let's see if we can get this to achieve all of our goals here. This already has the mystery goo. We can remove you and put on our better antenna. Right, and modify you to go to Kerbin's public channel. This does have a heat shield, right? Yeah, we have a heat shield. And so what I would like to do is get rid of these two things, put on a smaller, smaller decoupler, get bearing, all right, and this just has the 2 solar panels, should be fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother adding another one. That'll be fine. We get the Geiger counter, we get the 2 hot thermometer. I just want to complete as many of these missions as possible. So I'm gonna launch this to the moon. I'm gonna get it in the higher required orbit, get it in the lower required orbit, and then I'm gonna return. I'm not going to stay around the moon for too long. But I could. Which means I could put on this magnetometer thing. Yeah, I'm going to put on this magnetometer thing. Now this is going to have all my staging messed up. This is what's returning. And from that, we got this rocket is going to give us 1800 delta V. Wow. All right. Let's figure out what's going on here. Might make a little bit of noise on the camera, in the microphone, just because I have actually printed out the delta V map. Alright, so getting to the Moonnnn is 860 plus 280 to get into an orbit. It's actually a little bit less than 280. Gotta do that about twice. I'll just round it. I'll say 600 delta V to get to the Moonnnn, get to both of my orbits, return from the Moonnnn. I'll round up 700. Plus 860 is 1500 delta V. This should give us about 300 delta V to finish circularizing around Kerbin, and then we should be golden. So we just need this bottom stage to give us the delta V necessary to get into orbit. Which this whole thing should probably be done. I don't use visual mods. Well, I've never actually used it, and so I've never actually felt the need to use it. I could look into getting some, but I usually try to keep it as stock as possible, just so if anybody is watching, they can mostly just understand what it is I'm playing with. I think the only exception is I have the restock mod, which changes some of these things. Between today and next time I stream, I could play around with some visual mods and see which ones I like, but I've never actually just felt the need for it. with here? We got sea level, which is 1500. We need around 3600, so 1500 plus 800. Only 2300, so we need another 1100 delta V. Why do I have a Valiant down here? Astronomer's Visual Pack? Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that. I know there are... I can't even remember any of the names for any of these visual mods. Like when I watch Matt Lown or any of the other people that stream or play, they they sometimes get visual mods and they had mentioned the ones that they use, but I never actually remember them. So I'll take a look at this Astronomer's Visual Pack and see what it looks like. Especially since the stock KSP, they upgraded all the visuals for the planets. They changed kind of the textures. It has definitely like alleviated my desire for visual mods. The only ones I could consider like really wanting are what is it? Things that add clouds and stuff. That might be fun to play with. And I have played KSP 2 when it first came out like a week ago. I'd seen the clouds there and the visual effects there. It does make me kind of wish I had that more in KSP 1. So yeah, I'll definitely take a look at some of those visual mods. What am I playing with here? 1500 plus an extra 1000. Didn't actually give us that much delta V. Yeah, and I think that was one of my fears with these visual mods is a lot of them don't mix very well together, and just going through the troubleshooting process of figuring out which one is causing my game to crash, it always just kind of steered me away from them. So I guess if I do get one, it would only be one at a time, I guess is how people do that. This rocket just kind of got out of control at this point. I just wanted to make a small change so I can send some extra stuff to Moonnnn. Let's see. What am I trying to do here? Let's see, we have... This one was going to give us like an extra 300 delta V or so to get to Moonnnn, do my whole mission around Moonnnn, and then return. I think what I'll just do is add some extra fuel to this guy. Puts us up at around 2600. So what were we trying to play around with here? 700 plus around 900, 1600 total. This will give us an extra 1000 delta V to get into orbit. So now we only needed the 2400. Yeah, I have Kerbal construction time, which I think if I had already built this money rocket here, and I didn't want to change it too much because I don't want to increase the build time, but at this point I think it's a brand new rocket. Like this whole bottom stage was just... Alright. Sea level. We only need 2,400 to finish, I think. Which this is way more than 2,400 at this point. When I put them in the same stage. Yeah, I'll just take it. We're probably good enough. I don't know why those are green, though. Oh, because they're highlighted. This one's not highlighted. There it is. Alright, so this will... Alright, thank you. Give us 1100 delta V, which we're actually going to have to... I think we'll be fine. This says at sea level we'll get around 2200, and then at vacuum we'll have 2600, so it should be somewhere in between that. And I over budgeted on this over here. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is I always have issues where the fairing deploys and destroys something, so I don't really care for testing it. What I did want to try is run a simulation, see if this will deorbit properly. So let me do that real quick. Oh, this is a launching simulation. While I'm here, the boosters are on the wrong side. Oh, the boosters aren't on the wrong side, the whole rocket's turned. Yeah, it's not that interesting. It's just I didn't want to change it too much, and it's probably not even gonna have any impact whatsoever on this, on the total build time. But yeah, I think this is kind of just a standard booster setup. What is my apoapsis at? Alright, apoapsis is fine. Is it fine? Alright, that detached. Okay. Apoapsis is getting to a good place. think I wanted this to happen earlier. Oh, I swear, I had the fairings as a like a split fairing. Either way. Is that to max? Yeah. Right. We lost communication, but we were able to get into orbit. We have plenty of delta V, so we're fine in that regard. Let's end that simulation. That isn't really what I wanted to simulate. I wanted to simulate the re-entry, but I accidentally clicked the wrong button. Want an orbit selection. Can I make this an eccentric orbit, or does it have to be circular? I think it has to be circular. The Moonnnn, I think, is at 1 million, so if I set this to... no, it's at 11 million. If I set this to 5 million, cancel. Save this. Delete the fairing. Mark this as a test real quick. Get rid of this whole bottom half. And have you extended. Right. Save this as a test. Go into orbit selection. I'll put it at 5 million, I think. Yep. And let's go here. Do have a connection. And I just want to see how the deorbit works. I think we're still using the Octo. The Octo should have reaction wheels in it. Coming in at a super steep angle. Fully expect magnetometer and the antenna to fall off. I'm just trying to see if things going to spin out of control. Okay, the whole thing just destroyed itself. I think that has to do with the mystery goo. The mystery goo is extremely weak. So what I'll do is I'll actually move that below. Move you up. And I don't care if you pull up, so I'll put you there. Let's try to deorbit this and see what happens. Hope it didn't save it as money01. Did it just delete everything that I had? I saved it as a new vessel. Okay, it did not. So this is what I would like to test, and the antenna is probably gonna destroy itself. Magnetometer boom. I'll just leave it where it was. Alien start sim. Let's come in a little bit more shallow, 40 kilometers. What do you mean by part 4? Okay. Point retrograde next time. Yeah, I think this is the 4th stream that I'm doing. Alright, so on this test I'm going to disable SAS and actually make sure I point retrograde. And let's just see, what if we don't do anything? As in, what if we don't detach this bottom stage? Because I'm aware that these have really high heat resistance. That was the magnetometer boom. Don't care about that. That seemed... Okay, I think that's actually what I'll do. That seemed like the easiest thing. Is just keep this stage. If we didn't fully deorbit, we'll come around again. But the next time we come around, we should be fine. Come on. That's assuming we can get a connection again. Delete and close. Yeah, there's a few things we have to consider with this vessel. We're still not going to deorbit. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with it though. The only thing I will change is delete and close, delete and close. Let's open up the actual rocket this time. This, there you go, Money 001. There's a couple things that I want to change with it. First one is I will put on another antenna for this commutron. That way I'll maintain connection when I close that. Put that on the public. That should be fine. I then need to go through the process of move you. Swapping those two out. So we're going to get rid of this mystery goo. And in order to get rid of the mystery... Okay, we can't get rid of the mystery goo. I'm confusing this with the other vessel. This doesn't have any slots for samples, so we actually have to keep the mystery goo where it was. But by nature of keeping this larger the fuel tanks and the actual engine itself on there, we should be fine with waiting before we're deeper in the atmosphere, jettisoning this. We may not even need the heat shield, but I'll keep it just in case. And then the only thing we have to make sure is that we deploy the parachute, so we'd have to get a connection. Right. Rocket costs 18,000. Let's put on launch stability clamp. I hope that's forward. That was one thing I had noted, was the rocket was rotated. Okay. Merge built vessel. Because it'll take 10 days to build. Save edits? Did this just crash? No? Okay. So it started at 27% complete. So it did take into account the fact that some of the parts were already built, which is fine. Advanced rocketry will give us some better parts, but I don't necessarily care for this mission. And so I think it's just the 2. Yeah. Let's go into the tracking station so I can warp to complete. This thing still has not deorbited itself. What happened to our adjustment? Oh no. I think when we were running a simulation, the timer ran out and it missed its apoapse. That's going to be some free money. Darn. Okay. Begin the rollout process for that. And fly this, set up a new maneuver. That's one thing I don't like about the crash simulator is if you have an alarm clock, it will clear it and not place it back in. Is it really 7 days? Yeah. I don't know if I trust that. Let me delete this and just create a new one. Come on, there we go. Right, save that. Right, and we're gonna wait for it to pull out. Did this lose communication at some point? I'll deal with that later. He should be fine. Alright, let's hope there's no failures. And let's hope I didn't make too many mistakes. Got about 20 minutes left. I think we can get this on its way to the moon. Okay. I just recover. I don't want to revert because that was clearly my mistake. But the staging was messed up. Luckily, I recovered it, so we should be able to not have to rebuild it, but launch it again after it's like, I don't know what Kerbal Construction does. Fab. Let us edit and actually see if it has to change at all. Yeah. I don't understand how the staging got messed up, but that's fine. Okay. These should go. Give us 1.33. 1.4 at sea level. Spending way too much time on this rocket. Detach, that'll and give us, yep. Yeah, and this time it's only going to take 3 hours to complete. My hand was hovering over that revert button, but gotta keep myself honest here. Okay, roll it out again. When is this being? Oh, 6 days. We got plenty of time. Alright, let's try this again. We just wasted a whole day of carbon time. Alright, double check our staging. Send both of those at the same time. I should have known what happened. I was looking at the thrust to weight and I saw it was 0.6 and I'm like, that seems a little low. Maybe it's because I didn't actually start the rocket and the swivel didn't start thrusting yet, and that's why it's not calculating. Staging looks fine. Watch all of those. Remove those clamps. I'm gonna detach those. Yep, everything looks fine this time. The rocket is facing a weird direction. I gotta make sure I point in the right way. But we are leaving the launch pad this time, which is much better. I think I have to go up east. Right, just reached orbit at 100 kilometers. 1700 delta V left, which is more than what I wanted. We should be fine to start burning towards the Moonnnn. Like it'll be around this point maybe. And please tell me these aren't the two orbits they wanted me to get into. Okay, we can achieve one of these, the other one, probably not. I'll go into the red orbit, is VACCO Advanced Suction Systems, and then the other one will have to be another mission. Okay, look at our maneuver. It's slightly inclined, but you can make that adjustment after. Right, that looks fine. Yep. Just set those to running. Don't really care about that. It's so dark, I can't even see anything. Let's accelerate till we get closer to the burn. Now one thing I have to take care is to make sure I don't turn this encounter into a flyby. Which means our periapsis, I think we'll be fine. Our periapsis just can't be on the other side of the planet, of the Moonnnn, or else we'd lose communications, but I think it'll be in a good position. Oh, okay. I was pressing the wrong button. Okay, let's flip back around. Should be okay. We have a lot of delta V here. And there. Right. We just lost one ignition. That's not too bad. So that's fine. We have 800 delta V left, which will be enough to get into our orbit, and then we are high enough that we can also just do our inclination at the same time. Okay, this is a little annoying, the simple fact that the periapsis isn't actually touching it. Let me waste another ignition. Let me waste 2 ignitions. Alright, that's much better. That gets us in plane. I have to do some radial to... And that'll probably be more than enough to get us in the proper orbit. What's this? Oh, this is... That should be happening in a day. Yep. We have everything extended. I'm not going to run this until we actually reach the place we need to be. I can start running this, and one thing I want to make sure is that I'm pointing towards the sun. So hopefully we stay in communication. I had planned the communication network such that I think from the Moonnnn we should have like a 60 or 70% connection strength. Electric charge is going down for some reason. Who is eclipsing us? The moon. So we just want a solar panel to face towards the moon. Which... Right. I think our battery will die, but when we go around the moon we'll be fine. Yep. Wow, we really only have a 58% connection strength. I can just go in here and delete this. Now we are around the moon, so we can start running our mission 2. Everything here should be running. Those look like they completed. And this is going to take 7 bajillion years to finish. Alright, finish that. Now I think what I'll do is I'll just keep this. It'll take around 300 delta V to return back to Kerbin, but that's like a highly eccentric orbit. I might try to lower this down to get Moonnnn low, just for that extra science. I think that's considered Moonnnn low. How many ignitions we got left on this? 11. Okay, we're fine. Now I just got to leave this in orbit for a while. Let this run. Come on. Let that run. Let everything else run. Yeah, I think in the save files, the first time I've ever actually reached Moonnnn. We're only like 8 hours in. Took a lot longer than I thought it would. We are getting charged. That's fine. Alright. You can return to the Space Center. Now, sadly, I only got like another 5 minutes before I gotta start getting ready to head out. But we just completed a whole bunch of missions, I think. Yeah, because we finished this one, which is just put a relay in. Luckily enough, our best antenna is a relay antenna. We finished one of the place in orbit around the Moonnnn, this one, which gave us a lot of money. So we have a few more that we can accept. Position a satellite around Moonnnn. We might be able... No, okay, so we can't reach Moonnnn yet because the 5G antenna, which is upgraded to 20 megameters, still can't reach Moonnnn. It would need to be a manned mission, which we're not in any position to do. I know which node we need to unlock, but I'm trying to unlock some of the smaller rockets before we get that. So we're not going to be able to get to Moonnnn for at least, I think it's... The node with the new antenna is also 90 science, so at 180 science. So we need like another 135 science. I don't see any more missions that... or contracts for easy money. So we're gonna try to get this equatorial one later. This is one we're working on. This is something we can plan for because I also want to put a relay around the Moonnnn. This one's a little weird because it's in a retrograde orbit. So it would just be a one-off mission. I can probably launch it at the same time as another rocket and then detach it on our it's not interplanetary, on our injection maneuver to the Moonnnn, detach it, just burn like an extra 20 delta V, and that'll be retrograde. That'll be fine. But yeah. So I think my plans for the next stream will be to launch, and I can actually start building it. The vessel that we had built earlier today, which I can't remember what it's called, Research 3, which is going to be the magnetometer measurements around Kerbin. That should give us a lot of science, as well as the mystery goo. And hopefully deorbiting that will be easier because we have this experiment return unit, which has huge amounts of heat tolerance. I think it's like 2900 Kelvin. So we can actually start building this, prepare to launch it. That'll give us continuous science over the next 100 days or so. So let's see. Go hide build list. What am I trying to do here? Okay, here it is. We'll build that. That'll take 20 days to complete. Okay. I think in those 20 days that this is building, the research vessel we just put around the Moonnnn will finish its magnetometer readings. So we can begin the process of deorbiting that. So I want to launch this, put this around Kerbin. I also want to prepare the relays for the Moonnnn. Yes, so there's a little bit of planning that we'll have to do, but I think that'll be everything for today. Saturn, thank you for joining in and watching. I'm surprised you actually stayed this long. But yeah, so my normal streaming schedule is Monday and Wednesday at around the same time. 6:30 Pacific time to 8:30 Pacific time. So that's when I'll be on next. But anyway, thank you for joining. Talk to you next time.